Ever get that itch, to just pack it all in and start fresh somewhere totally new?
Oh, yeah, the classic escape fantasy.
Right. But imagine you're not just anyone. You're the brother of Napoleon Bonaparte. And it's 1815, and, well, Waterloo's happened. The empire's crumbled.
Talk about a need for a change of scenery.
Exactly. That's what Joseph Bonaparte did. Fled Europe, ends up right here in America.
Seeking refuge, a new beginning. I mean, can you imagine?
So today we're diving deep into Joseph Bonaparte. We've got biographies, historical accounts of his estate, even personal letters.
Trying to piece together how this sophisticated European monarch navigated life in a brand new world.
It's not just dates and battles.
Yeah.
This is a guy grappling with identity, family, legacy.
All against this backdrop of, well, immense change.
So let's start with Joseph himself. Our sources paint him as kind of a reluctant king.
More at home in a salon than on a battlefield.
Oh yeah, Napoleon himself saw him that way.
More of a connoisseur of culture than a ruler.
He was pushed into these roles, King of Naples, King of Spain.
Positions he never really truly desired.
It's fascinating, isn't it? While Napoleon's conquering empires,
Yes.
Joseph's collecting art, having affairs.
Two sides of the same coin, maybe. One driven by power, the other by beauty, pleasure.
And there's this quote from Joseph. He said, "How can I find happiness when my position is quite incompatible with my character?"
Wow. Almost a sense of being trapped, wouldn't you say?
Yeah. So then Waterloo happens, Napoleon's empire falls apart, Joseph hightails it out of Europe. What happens when he gets to America? Red carpet treatment.
Not quite. He tries to lay low, uses the name Count de Servier.
Oh, clever.
But come on, regal bearing. Some people just recognized him.
Busted.
So much for that secret identity. Reaches out to President Madison.
Hoping for some guidance, maybe?
But Madison basically tells him, look, you're in a free country now. You're on your own.
Ouch. Cold shoulder from the president.
Oh.
So Joseph ends up in Bordentown, starts building this huge estate, Point Breeze. How did he swing that? He didn't exactly flee with pockets full of gold.
This is where it gets interesting. Before leaving Europe, Joseph entrusted his secretary with a mission.
A secret mission. Sounds intriguing.
To retrieve a hidden treasure chest from his old chateau in Switzerland.
Okay, wait. Hidden treasure. We're talking diamonds, gold, the whole 9 yards.
Diamonds, yes. Letters from Napoleon.
No way.
Yeah.
Like juicy historical letters.
And some even say the crowns from his time as king.
Hold on, stolen crowns. This is getting good. So he bankrolled his American dream with this hidden fortune.
Exactly. Created a haven for art and culture at Point Breeze. You know, fulfilling Napoleon's prediction that he'd become a bourgeois American obsessed with gardens.
Okay, now I have to know more about this American palace. Paint me a picture. What was Point Breeze like?
Imagine sprawling gardens designed by the top landscape architects, sculptures everywhere.
Sounds extravagant.
The main house, overflowing with art, worked by Jacques-Louis David.
Get out. The Jacques-Louis David. The Napoleon crossing the Alps guy.
The one and only. And his library at Point Breeze. Over 8,000 books, larger than the Library of Congress at the time.
I can barely keep my own bookshelf organized. But there's something else. Tunnels. Right. Under Point Breeze. Were those for escaping if Napoleon made a comeback?
Some think so. Others say for smuggling supplies, servants.
Or those romantic rendezvous.
Joseph did have a reputation.
Right. So Point Breeze was quite the place. But amidst all that, wasn't he lonely? He desperately wanted his wife and daughters to join him.
He did. He wrote these heartfelt letters begging Julie, his wife, to come. She never did.
So last we left off, Joseph's in America, building this incredible estate, longing for his family. Did his daughters ever actually come over?
They did, but maybe not quite as he'd pictured it. In 1820, his youngest, Charlotte, arrives.
Not Zenaid, the older one, the one he kept writing to.
Nope, Charlotte. Same year as that big fire at Point Breeze, actually.
Wow, must have been bittersweet seeing his daughter after so long. But still, Julie not there.
Yeah, and get this. Charlotte arrives with a bit of scandal. Fell for the ship's captain on the way over.
Oh no, a shipboard romance. How very Joseph, like father, like daughter.
Maybe. Definitely a shared sense of, well, adventure, I'd say.
Mm.
Following their hearts.
So what happened with the captain? And did Zenaid ever make it to America?
The romance fizzled out. Charlotte actually went on to be a painter.
A princess turned artist, huh? Makes you wonder what she painted.
I know, right? Landscapes of her new home, maybe portraits with a European flair. As for Zenaid, she did come over a year after Charlotte.
With her husband in tow.
Yep. Charles Lucien Bonaparte.
Another Bonaparte. Were they all fleeing Europe at this point?
Charles Lucien was different. He was a big deal ornithologist, studied birds.
Birds, huh? Interesting.
Here's the cool part. He named a new species after Zenaide. Zenaida macrura, the mourning dove.
Get out. So that sad little coup we hear, that's thanks to Joseph Bonaparte's daughter. That's wild.
It is, right? Like a little piece of this royal family woven into American nature.
But even with family around and these new American connections, Joseph still missed Europe, right?
Oh, absolutely. His heart was always back there. And things with Julie were still strained, even after all the letters.
He had this whole life in America, building Point Breeze, even a second family with Anna, but still that melancholy.
Yeah, you hit it. Home isn't always just a place, is it? It's more than that.
So did his daughter stay in America?
Charlotte and her husband went back to Europe in 32. Zenaide followed a few years later.
Leaving Joseph alone again? Do we know if he ever, regretted his choices, all the complicated relationships?
Hard to say. We do know his former mistresses were asking for financial help for his illegitimate children.
Things were definitely different back then.
Yeah.
So what about Julie? Was he still writing to her all this time?
He was, still hoping they could, patch things up. But, well, fate had other plans. 1836, after over 20 years in America, Joseph decides to go back to Europe.
He gave up on America, just like that.
He leaves Point Breeze behind. Before he goes, he gives away a lot of his treasures to the neighbors who helped him during the fire.
Wow, that's something. A thank you after all those years. Those neighbors must meant something to him. So what awaited him back in Europe? Did he finally find some peace?
Not exactly. The trip back is full of both heartbreak and, well, bittersweet reunions.
Last time we left Joseph heading back to Europe after more than 20 years in America. What happened to Point Breeze? Did it just fade away after he left?
Oh, not at all. It had this, whole other life. First, a wealthy merchant from Philly bought it.
Okay, so it's still fancy.
Then, get this, it was turned into a health resort.
A health resort. So, where kings once dined, people were taking mud baths?
Something like that. It's funny how these places, they change with the times.
They do. So, was it a health resort forever after that?
Well, no. It eventually became something a bit more, peaceful. In 1941, the Society of the Divine Word bought it.
A Catholic?
Yeah, a mission. They had it for something like 70 years.
Wow, 70 years. That's a long time. What did they use it for?
Seminary, a retreat center, all sorts of things. But here's the best part.
Don't keep me in suspense.
Just a few years ago, 2021, a land trust, along with the state and Bordentown, they bought Point Breeze.
No way. What did they do with it?
They opened it to the public.
So anyone can just, wander around Joseph Bonaparte's old stomping grounds. That's awesome.
Yep. Walk the gardens, imagine him there, looking out at the river. Pretty cool, right?
Is there anything left of the actual estate? I mean, his house, anything like that?
Unfortunately, the main house burned down in another fire way back when, late 1800s, I think. But the gardens are still there. They've been restored a bit. Oh, and parts of the tunnels are still there, too.
The tunnels. I'd love to poke around in those. Always makes you wonder what they were really for, right? Escape routes, secret passages. Who knows? Anything else from Joseph's time?
If you really want to see something, the Bordentown Historical Society, they have a whole exhibit on Joseph and Point Breeze. Artifacts and things like that.
Like what? Give me the good stuff.
Well, they even have a lock of his hair.
A lock of his hair. Okay, that's a little creepy, but I gotta admit, that's pretty amazing to have something that, actually belonged to him. He really captured people's imagination, didn't he?
He did. He's like this local legend now. A reminder that history isn't just big names and dates. It's about, real people and their stories.
It's funny to think Napoleon's brother ends up in, of all places, Bordentown, New Jersey. It's like something out of a movie.
Right. History is full of surprises, that's for sure. And Joseph's story, it just shows how much more there is to these historical figures than we might think.
He was so much more than just Napoleon's brother. A reluctant king, art lover, devoted father, heartbroken husband, always searching for something for home.
It makes you think, where would he consider home, really? Europe or Point Breeze?
Yeah, good question. What makes a place home, anyway? That's something we can all relate to, right? No matter who we are or where we come from. This has been an amazing deep dive. Learned so much about Joseph, about Bordentown, about this whole other side of American history.
It's amazing what you can find if you just, dig a little deeper. And Joseph's story, it's a reminder that the past, it's not really gone. It's all around us in these echoes and traces we find.
To everyone listening, if you're ever near Bordentown, check out Point Breeze. Walk around, picture Joseph Bonaparte there. Maybe you'll even see a mourning dove and remember that little connection to his family. And remember, history is more than just textbooks. It's full of these incredible stories just waiting to be discovered. Who knows, maybe your own deep dive is just beginning. Thanks for joining us today, folks. Until next time, keep exploring and keep those stories coming.